Welcome back to another episode here on the Hard and Hustle podcast. Dale, I'm so excited. The energy just before the call on what's about to happen is so real, and just to know that you went from busting down doors to delivering bunk beds and baby formula all under 48 hours. You know what I mean? That goes to the work that you've done. Spent 29 years in narcotics. What was that moment? The single moment when you knew you just couldn't keep showing up that same way?
Well, I don't know if there was a single moment. I actually started in the ministry before I joined the police department. And then while I was I joined the police department just so I'd get a little bit of awareness as to how the world works and everything, and try to understand people of all different, walks of life. And then I really liked it, and so I did some ministry while I was the police. And then we started Boost Others. It was a very clear moment for me when we started this.
What was harder, walking into a dangerous bust or walking away from the badge to actually serve people through faith? I mean, you were already doing it, but do you find it tough?
Yeah, it was a big difference. Yeah, you're right. No, it was tough. It was tough. I was a pastor had asked me to really retire and do this full time, and I just felt like I really wanted to stay, but I realized that I had given all those years to locking people up, and was time to try to save some souls, really change some lives.
Dale, you are one of many that have made the transition. I actually spoke to a judge and an attorney that very similar to you, who says, man, I spend my life putting young adults away. I want to be on the other side of it. Why wait for them to be in the courtroom? Let's help them before they get there.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to what you said. Why wait for me to go lock them up? I could help them before the police even arrives. And I truly love that, man. You wear two badges at once. You mentioned the pastor, the cop. What part of your soul felt pulled in both directions?
Well, I think, we try to have the right motivation. The Bible says that Paul said he was motivated by the love of people, the love of Christ, compelled him, literally tied him up and forced him to do to care for us. That's why you've heard the stories you've heard now from Paul. So anyway, it's hopefully love. Secondly, vision for what I think we could do, and what we developed here is based on almost the same system as a policeman we use, and so we were able to take that into the ministry world, in the nonprofit world, and really make a difference. I hope for people.
I told you I was going to tell you something, but I said, let me wait to the podcast. I was actually watching your social media, and I just love the Undercover Pastor, right? Watching your social media, you're doing the podcast. The Monday looks like, maybe, I don't know what you call it, but the Monday motivations, right? You
Yeah.
just had one. Do you remember which one was it this past Monday that you told?
No, they post them, and I can't remember back that far.
It,
It's
it,
already
it was just
Thursday.
so
How can I
good.
remember Monday?
All good. I only say that because you get into the word, right? You talk. I love how you just take your story of being a on the line of right, fighting crime, but then you bring back the. Right now, I'm on your website. It says buying cocaine and preaching Jesus. A weird combo, right? Like, if someone reads that, man, I just love how you incorporate everything, because it makes someone like, wait a minute. But it's truly what you were doing, man. Why did you go into this undercover pastor? Why is this not just in the nonprofit world talking about boosting others, but you're also really heavy on the undercover pastor? Talk to me, how did that become
Yeah.
alive? How long have you been doing it? Why are you doing it?
Well, we started with there were some articles done when I a couple years before I retired. There was one particular case that I don't know why, but when we closed it, it was I was posing as a owner of a recording studio, and I kept this recording studio going for a year, and we met over 50 defendants in there. Got to be friends with them, cartel guys. We got a case on some really violent criminal stick-up guys, bought a lot of guns. And with all that case, when we arrested everybody, it just went all over. I mean, BBC and Univision and Rolling Stone and BET, and I mean, it just went all over. Plus the
Wow.
local thing, which of course I didn't know, but it was because a local reporter wrote a long story in the Post. And so anyway, as a result, that got us into this media thing, and I got a call about 6 years ago from a French documentary maker, and they wanted to do a documentary in France on the story of the pastor undercover thing. And so anyway, that got completed, and it was during that time that my daughter and I thought about this and said, hey, maybe we could actually get a message out there to folks and help them. Maybe they'd listen to me more than a traditional pastor. That was kind of the thought.
So is this your daughter in the videos?
Yeah, in the podcast, yes.
Oh, that's cool, man. So listen, you said you didn't remember, so I had to pull it up here. Let's go ahead and share it on this screen so you can see what was posted. I thought it was a good message, man, and you can give us a little bit more on it. Let me turn the audio up.
Sure.
I just got tired of fighting. Part of the leaving the police department when I retired was because I was so tired of fighting with the court system, the prosecutors, drama with all the different agencies. I just got tired of fighting. You know, in my Christian walk, I also get tired of fighting. I'm fighting my flesh. I fight myself. I fight my brain. I fight temptation. I fight all that. And I get tired of it sometimes. Here's the encouragement. It's not.
I'll stop it there because it is some time consuming, but I want to hear from you now, live time, man. I think it resonates with a lot of us. What does that mean to you, Dale, in your words today?
Sure. I say two things about fighting. Number one, I didn't include in there that I got tired of getting beat up too. So there's that in fighting. It wasn't like I won every battle. You know what I mean? So I'd say there's two things. One is about fighting is if you know Christ, then you can be sure that the fight doesn't go on forever. Heaven is on the other side, and you won't be fighting there. That's one. Two is that Paul talked about fighting the good fight, and trying to make sure you're in a good fight, that you're in the fight that you ought to be in, and that it's worthwhile, and you need to stick it out. I mean, a lot of my fights on the police department, you look back now, and I say, well, if I was me now, would I've gotten that fight? I could have probably talked my way out of it. I could have done, but when you're young, you do all kinds of dumb stuff. So anyway, is it a good fight? Fight the good fight, he said. And then the last one I'll tell you, I've said two, but I'm going to give you three, was I think super helpful, and that is Paul was about to die. He was about to get his head chopped off. And right before he did, he said a word that everybody has heard in America, I fought the good fight. I finished my course. He's at the end of his life. Anyway, what I thought all those years was Paul was perfect. And so what he was saying was I won every fight. But that isn't what he said. What he just said was I fought. And that's really critical for all of us as we're fighting our demons or trying to deal with the guilt we feel or whatever, is to turn to Christ and then fight the good fight. And realize you're not going to win every battle, but you can win on the other side.
Yeah.
How's that for a quick sermon?
I love it. And I say that you learned something from every battle as well. Right? Every battle.
Yes.
You mentioned how you are different today because of everything, all those lessons that you learned in those battles maybe you've lost.
Yeah.
Even those battles you won, there was something to,
Sure.
And I believe that there is a lesson in every moment of your life, whether good or bad. But I ask you, man, because it seems like you've been at this for years now. Where does this stem from? Did you grow up with mom and dad being pastor? Were they taking you to church? Like, how do you get so involved, man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were definitely religious, and we went to church and stuff as a kid. Didn't appeal to me, and then when I was 19, I got really depressed. Thought I was going to commit suicide. I was just really depressed. I couldn't get my head around it, and it's like God gave me, like a light went off. I saw people, and I saw them different, where I saw them and that they all really needed a message that I believe that Christ brought, that we can get forgiveness of sin, that we can know Christ personally, we can have a relationship with God Almighty. That goal transcended and beat my depression, because I realized I had a purpose. And so my purpose from then on to now is to try to tell everybody I can about that wonderful news, kind of like Bono in, I'm older than you now, so Bono, like during the HIV crisis, and he was so committed to sub-Saharan Africa and trying to deliver him from the HIV crisis, that it motivates you, it takes over your life. And in that case, what I feel like we have a message from Christ is eternal, and it's even better than physical illness. It solves you inside, you know.
So all these amazing things, man, poured into you seems like from a very young version of Dale. Sometimes we don't even know that it's poured into us, right? We just
Yeah,
grow
that's
up
true.
like we go back and like, wait, the reason that I love this or do this is because I remember mom and dad or
Yeah.
whoever it was doing something. And that's what I love about life is that we can really go back to a moment and almost put our finger on what was that the mindset shift, right? Because it is all a mindset shift. Where was these seeds planted in my life? Sometimes either you planted them or someone else planted them in your life. But with all that, everything that you were doing, you also decided that you would get into the nonprofit space. So you're helping people boost others. You're part of the boost others. There's always that one story that broke your heart and made you say, "We've got to do something different." What was that moment for Boost Others?
Well, I had retired from the police department, and I had seen nonprofits, do-gooders, church, do dumb stuff, frankly, in the same place where I was working as a policeman. They would do nice things, and they were very nice people, but they just weren't. It was laughable, but everybody was laughing. The community was laughing, the cops were laughing, and I thought these dear people are giving their time, but they're doing the wrong thing. And so I didn't want to keep doing dumb stuff. I wanted to know how can I really help the right people. So basically, here's what happened: we called we called up a social worker who used to be at my church, and asked her. Just said, "Look, I know there isn't everybody needs us, but if there's ever a need that you have that nobody else will do, call me and we'll take care of it." And the first call was for a mom, a single mom, who had two disabled kids, and one of them had to be picked up right at 3 o'clock. She had to drop them off, so I had to be there. Right, nobody else could do it, and she had just gotten a job, so she was getting out of poverty. She just gotten a job, trying to make her way, and her car broke down. And the social worker called me and said, "Look, nobody fixes cars," which makes sense. I understand the government can't do everything. So she said, "Could you help us?" I said, "Absolutely." So we fixed her car. She kept the job, and we never got another request from her. Her life continued to get better. And so that's where we come up with this idea of boost. Bring people out of their crisis and help them right there. And to me, that's the best job a pastor could do, both spiritual and physical.
Yeah. Well, listen, when you told me what you did for the woman, I already thought, oh, that's where Boost Others comes from. It's a play on words, but truly is what you guys are doing is boosting others up to continue to propel, because we all go through down moments in our lives, and sometimes we just need that boost to keep it going. So I don't know if that's what you guys were thinking, but definitely where I go with it when I hear some of these stories. The last time I spoke to you, you've also mentioned making arrests, or you don't make arrests anymore. You actually bring hope. Was there a recent moment that you actually felt the exact opposite of your days on the force?
Yeah, because what we do now is we do the same thing. Somebody calls the social workers call our, let's say, dispatcher, just like a police department, and she sends out the request. And then we take the request and then we go deliver it, And so very much like getting a call as a cop, go to deliver, except we always, not always, but a lot of times we had to deliver bad news. You know what I mean? They were getting us there because it was a family fight or whatever. And so this is wonderful because I get to turn it around and deliver really good news to people. We recently just was meeting with a young couple, really serving and, good people, but just didn't have any funds at all. And we were able to give them a gift, a cash gift, which we do a fair amount, to help them with an emergency they were going through. And just watching their response and everything, I mean, that's the dream, is trying to be there for people. Yeah. Just today, I just got a picture of a little girl who was she's disabled, and she her wheelchair, she had grown. And so it was going to be several months until they outfit a new wheelchair, and the mom couldn't afford like a adaptive stroller, so basically the kid would be stuck in bed. And so for $800 we got an adaptive stroller for the little girl, and I just got a picture of the little girl in her chair 2 minutes before we get on this call. So I mean, that's the kind of stuff we love to do. Police work's great, I love it, no problem, but this is pretty cool.
Hey, real quick, if you enjoying the podcast, we first want to say thank you. And we also just want to give you a little insight of what we're up to at Francis. Some don't even realize that we're working with organizations to help them use AI to create that real human communication experiences, where that's actually supporting your families, those patients, or the entire community. We're actually creating tech that connects. Check it out, francis.ai. I love it, man. And I always speak to any young individual and I tell them nonprofit world is you have to look into it. And as actually, because I am a president of a high school foundation, I always ask the teachers and I ask the school, are we not talking about nonprofits? Like, when people go off to college, are we not talking about, hey, man, there's nonprofit courses? Because I believe a lot of our young leaders now need to get into this space. And sometimes
Yeah.
they get into it, but maybe right after they finish the career and then they go into it like, man, I wish I would have done this sooner. Do you agree that you should have done this sooner, that you should have got into it sooner? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think if I had this particular understanding, if God had given me this idea 30 years ago, I mean, this is. I help with a lot of nonprofits. I'm on the board of a couple. And they're all really good. I mean, I wouldn't be part of it if they weren't. But this particular idea is so simple, and it's really surgical. Like it's really helping people we know are in need, and it solves a gap, and it does it, right away in a minute of a crisis. So yeah, I mean, that would have been wonderful to have started 30 years ago. Just think of all the more people we could have helped. When you're as old as me, see, you put back the time. So I could have done this for 40 years now.
Hey, man, you're not, it's better late than never, is what I say, right?
There you
So you're doing it. The work is being done. We definitely appreciate the work that you've done on both sides.
Yeah.
Because in reality, you're always fighting for the better, you know. So we appreciate what you do there in that sense. So when you talk about Boost Others, how big have you been able to scale this organization since joining? Is this something that you founded or something that you
Yeah.
joined partners with?
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the trajectory, and we started. I just looked at 5 years ago. We were at about 50 needs, and last year we finished. And those are families, because what we serve family. And last year we got to over 800 families, and our goal is this year to get to 1,200 families. And on top of that, we've expanded. We opened a new arm of Boost Others in Cincinnati area with another family. So we've got now 2 of them going. So that's really exciting, and that's been really fun.
So you got a big organization, man. Something that probably was just a one man show is a couple
Yeah.
of individuals now, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, we're actually hiring people. Yeah, that's right. I'm just the chairman of the board. I don't work. I don't get a salary or work there, but we have a team, and my daughter helped me start it, and she helps run it as well. She's a school teacher, so we're both doing multiple things, but this is kind of where we're headed.
I love it, man. That's how you know it's out of purpose and passion. When we take a role, same thing. I'm on the nonprofit, and it's not paid, but that doesn't mean I don't love it.
Yeah.
I'm actually an alumni to the school, so I even love it even more because I
Yeah.
get to pour into the next,
Yeah.
little eagles. We're Edgewater Eagles, so the next little eagles that go into the school, man, that are going to also experience life. My matter of fact, my niece is graduating, and I'm thinking to
Oh,
myself like,
cool.
oh my God, I remember when she was a little girl, and I get so nervous and scared, Dale. But for
Yeah.
me, I had no fear at 19. I was out in the world just living life.
Yeah.
But when you went through it, it becomes a little different. You see things a little, from a different perspective and understand how cruel the world can truly be, right?
Yeah.
And we know it. Most systems that are also being implemented, are they the best for us? Are they? And we're seeing what's happening in government. Like there's just so much fear going on right now, man. And to talk about systems, most systems actually takes weeks to help. Why did you decide it had to happen in days?
So ask it again, real quick.
Yeah, when we talk about systems, we know that systems takes weeks, maybe months to actually help and put together. Why did you decide, no, it has to happen in days?
Well, I think the the urgency of the needs. We're driven by that, and those are what we deal with, particularly as crisis needs. So you really can't wait. You have to act. And when I heard that first story, I was like, whatever happens, we got to solve this. I don't want that woman losing her job. I don't want her having more pressure. Let's help her. She's already dealing with enough. You know what I mean? And so no, that made us think, yeah, we got to move. We got to move.
And it kind of go back to your history, right? Dealing with crisis up close, it's showing up faster matters just as much as showing up at all. You agree?
Oh yes, speed is a big deal. Yeah, speed's a big deal. You know, on police department, they measure how good the police department. You can look it up online of any police department, see what the response time is, and you're pushed on that because if you're in a crisis right now, you want them to come. You can't wait an hour. And in the same way with us, we try to measure our response time because we also deliver, and most charities aren't able to deliver. So we're mobile, just like the cops. They get a call, we go. So our dream is to get it tighter and tighter, but our response time right now is within a day we can get the need, day to 2 days longest, we can try to get the need solved. Sometimes within hours.
So two things. It's funny you say that because I recently just seen an article. I'm in Orlando, as I mentioned, and it gave the response time to Orange County, where it was actually less than surrounding areas. Right? I can't remember. I think it was like 80%. Is that a good?
Response time should be really fast. I'm going to say this. Here's my technical term. They should be really fast. That's my technical term. I know that I can remember over the years with them doing exposés, the medics in DC, because I was in Washington, DC, and, over the years, it was pretty crazy and pretty disorganized. I think now they're way up, but I don't know how tight it should be, but I know this. Let me say this, Everett. I've had to call, right? When I'm losing a battle and you're getting whooped and you put it out on the radio, come help me, man, seconds seem like hours. You know what I mean? And so we got to be there quick, man.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. But I say that all this is in life. It's a learning lesson. Our jobs are learning lessons. Relationships are learning lessons. So when you talk about speed, sense of urgency, like those are the things you picked up being on the line of duty, right?
Yeah.
That's why I love. Sometimes I always tell people, what's in it for you? Sometimes you get paid to literally learn about life. And people don't see it that way. They just think it's a paycheck to provide for their family. But no, man, there's learn every single day. What's in it for me? In any job, I tell you, Dale, any job that I've ever taken, I always go with the mindset of, great, I'm getting paid well, right, to provide for the family. But what's truly in it for me? What am I learning? What do I feel that they're going to educate me on? Because if I'm not being educated on anything, why am I here? But it seems like you had a lot of education being on the front line that's really helped you all around become this better pastor, a better nonprofit leader, just a better human in general. Do you remember the wildest or most unexpected delivery story that still gets you choked up when you actually tell it?
Boy, there's a lot of those. Had a mom. At last there was a mom who I just some folks, a lot of times the people we deal with in crisis have not just had one crisis, they've had multiple all at the same time. And so here's what had happened. It's a cool story. A 16-year-old girl in high school had written a letter to the local police department because she knew like the officer friendly in her school or whatever. And she wrote out, and all the letter was about her mom and what her mom was going through. And so what had happened was she had a disabled brother and her. And then the mom, like just a year earlier, everything was great. Credit, had their own house, married, everything good. But by the time she wrote this letter, she'd gotten cancer and it had gotten a lot worse. And as a result, her husband had left her. She had lost her house. And this girl was writing about her mom, what a hero she was. And she asked the police department, do you think you could help her? And they called us. And we listened to the story, and we went and we were able to meet them, and we went over to their house, and everybody was crying. The cops were crying, I'm crying, everybody's crying because this poor woman had been through so much, and we were able to give her a check, help her with her immediate crisis, and try to get the thing. By this time they were living in a really marginal, tough neighborhood. They were all stuffed into a little apartment, and they had this disabled child, and she's contemplating her health and losing her health and losing her life. And so it was incredibly moving with her response when we showed up.
It's cool, man. It's cool to do that type of work, and it's never easy. I started my nonprofit at 22 years old, and what we used to do is Thanksgiving events. And then we ended up doing Christmas events. So I would actually spend Christmas morning. I would get donated gifts, and I would have the community nominate families. And my Christmas morning, I would go into these homes, and a lot of the times it is, those type of communities where it's kind of scary. It's not your everyday walk into. And I would walk into some of these homes, man, and you can just see that even though they didn't have everything, you can see they were still trying. I would never forget walking to a home, and it was like three or four of them in one room, as you mentioned. But you can see all the alphabets just stuck on the wall, right? Like someone hand drew the alphabet, so you can still see there's some education going on and some learning there, and mom is trying to do the best. But it also mentally it's hard. So I ask you, while you're pouring into to others, who's pouring into to Dale?
Well, every day I read the Bible, or almost every day, and I listen to some great podcasts to help me understand my relationship with God and understand how I grow closer. And then you're gonna laugh. The pastor at my church is my son-in-law. He's a great preacher, and I really have grown a lot, listening to him, and honestly, watching him with my daughter, and they have 7 kids, and they're just the real thing. And I gotta say that's been, if you look for somebody who's kind of like helping me, that would be a key part, that's for sure. And I would say the number one person who pours into me is my wife. We're going to be married 40 years in June 29th. And she's a much better Christian, loves the Lord more than I ever will, and she keeps me straight, man. She keeps me focused.
So that's all the women that really make sure that we stay in line with God and the Word. Because my wife, since day one, before I was sitting here praising God for everything that has happened in my life, she was like, "Man, it's God." And she's praying over me, and she's praying for the household. And I mean, there was times I remember early on in a relationship, when I wasn't the best version of myself, and she was like, "Hey, the reason I stayed is because I asked God, do I move on or do I stay?" And so just bringing that, and now I get to also bring that into our kids, and now praying every night. I didn't grow up like that, so to have a partner like that is so crucial. You are right. It is not just listening to God and having the faith and all these things, but having a strong partner is crucial. You have a strong partner. But I'm also like, man, to know that your son-in-law, first of all, shout out to the son-in-law, right? That's a good pick from your wife. Good man. But I love how it's someone a little younger, right? That you could say, hey, it doesn't matter the age. People can still pour into us. You just got to find the right people. So I'm happy that you find those around you, because it is tough. It's tough. The work that you've done as a policeman, as a nonprofit leader, as a pastor. There's always challenges, right? You got to kind of be on your what's the terminology they say? I don't know. I can't come to me, but you can't make any mistakes, so they're watching in a sense. Right? I got a question though. You used to realize on your gut in the field. Now you're kind of leveraging data, maybe AI. What's been the most surprising shift you see as a leader, going from gut feelings, making those kind of decisions, to now making decisions based off of real life data and things that I'm actually seeing on black and white?
AI is the biggest change of my lifetime, I think. I'm trying to think if there's been anything like it, and it just happened. To me, I'm old, so I'm just catching on. But I just can't believe what, in my opinion, God has helped people to be able to know a little bit more. Like, I think God knows all this stuff. And so little by little, if you look at the history, little by little, we get these little gifts from God, And AI could be really bad. There's real problems. But boy, is it good when it's good. You know what I mean? And, I studied my Bible with AI. I use it to help me understand what different authors say. And, I'm ADD, so I'm not likely to sit down and, read for 2 hours. Or it's just, I wish I was, but I'm not going to do that.
Same.
Yeah. So I get my news. I get my in like condensed. Really helps me a lot. And then reading the Bible, I only read anyway. The Bible's so dense and so full that you only read it in shorter sections, and then you try to meditate on it. That's really what scriptures encourage, for His blessing. So anyway, Yeah, I'd say AI has got to be the biggest technical thing of my lifetime. That's for sure.
I love it. What kind of AI are you using? ChatGPT? Are you doing anything in the nonprofit space as well?
I don't know about nonprofits, but I know Grok. Grok, my buddy showed me that one, and ChatGPT. I do those two fair amount.
I've heard of Grok. I haven't used Grok or even looked into it. Is it similar to ChatGPT? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's very similar. Yeah, yeah. I mean, to me, I don't know the difference, but buddies of mine are telling me there's all these different opportunities, so I got to try some other stuff.
Yeah, I am for the last year, a little bit over a year now. ChatGPT has truly been my assistant, and I tell everyone about it. Actually, my mechanic was here yesterday. We were trying to figure out my AC in the car because this is kind of the second, third time, and it also makes me feel like, is this person doing the right? Like there was a lot of tests there, right? So I see what he's doing. He's looking at the gauges. So I take a picture of the gauges, and I was like, hey, what are some of the issues that you're, So I'm prompting ChatGPT. So before I even told him what I was doing, I said, hey, do you use ChatGPT? He says, never. I'm like, you've never used ChatGPT? Let me show you, bro. It would save you time on thinking.
Yeah,
Very old school on the mechanic. So I showed him all this, and everything he was mentioning, though, was very accurate. So I knew I
yes,
had a good mechanic, first of all. But he's like, wow, is this free? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, there's a paid version. I paid for the, paid version.
yeah.
But yeah, ChatGPT, man, it is so cool. Back to what you said about books. I'm not a reader. I got books back there, but I don't read them. However, I had received a book from an old colleague of mine as I was departing the corporate world, and it was a thick book. I don't read, okay, Dale? So I went in, but I loved the title, and I felt, what was in it for me? So I put it in ChatGPT. I said, this is the book, this is the author. Can you please break this down? And because it understood who I was, because I already created my identity within the ChatGPT, it gave me in segments. So instead of having to read a whole book like you mentioned, I can just take the doses that mattered most to me, that I needed at the moment. So yeah, I'm truly a fan. I mean, automation, all these different things, and maybe let's talk offline on maybe some things that could help out in the nonprofit space, AI wise, because there is things that could
Yeah.
be tech and still be compassion. Do you
Yeah.
think that they actually mix? Do you think they can mix?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Look, the thing is just a thing. It's not a human. So it's what you put into it. I think, there's naturally some fear because it could be used for evil, like the internet and so on. But
Yeah.
I would just say, me and you don't have to lean that direction. We could try to use it. For me, like the reading part, I still need to read, but what it helps me to do, I'm never going to read whole books. That's what I always tell guys. I'll read little books, but something twice a year, I might read a whole little book. But what I do is I read sections, and I should tell you, man, rejoice with even. I used to feel bad, like if I read a chapter and I didn't read the whole thing, I'd feel terrible, like oh, I should have finished, and I'd always look at it like another failure. But the truth is, I'm now saying, man, I'm really glad I read that chapter, and I can be just happy with that as reading the whole thing. And the same way with ChatGPT, if it summarizes it, a lot of times it can just help me read the chapter that I really need to read, verse, just massively, or which author I need to chime in. For me, the spiritual side, you have to know who to put in, or else it'll send you crazy stuff.
Yep.
And so if I put in certain commentators, R.C. Sproul we use, for instance, you put him in there and ask ChatGPT, what would R.C. Sproul say about this spiritual problem or about this Bible verse? And boom, and that way I know it's kind of like, within guardrails, and not kooky.
I like it, man. We could definitely talk about it for some time. I would actually ask you, I would love to think your idea. If you could actually create this AI model, what does that look like? Think about the nonprofit space. Thinking about being a resource to individuals. If you can create an AI, who is it for? What would it do?
Boy, I'd tell you one would be to help people through crisis. You got me thinking now. But I mean, that's, we do immediate, and then we help them with the spiritual. And of course, they have social workers and all, helping them as well. But for us, it would be great to create something that could really help them move in America. I work with a ministry around the world called International Care Ministries that does that. They do poverty reduction, and it's a tremendous training program. They work right in the lowest slums, right in the poorest people, ultra poor. But they wouldn't work right in the U.S. because we don't have anybody who's living on like 40 cents a day. nor are there solutions they can use in the Philippines wouldn't work for us. So anyway, it would be great to create something like that I could actually feel like I'm giving people something to, move them the next step.
The boost. Don't forget that. Boost them up is what we're going to
There
be
you go.
saying.
That's right.
You're mentoring other leaders now, man. What
Yeah.
do you tell someone who has the heart but still feels stuck in fear? Because I believe that's what happens. People have the heart, but they're stuck in
Yeah.
fear. What are you telling these leaders?
I think that's a great question because what we're, generally you would hear is, well, what if the person doesn't need it? Or what if they're not happy that I helped them or whatever? And I would just say, hey, look, man, you're not doing it for you, so it doesn't matter how they respond. I want them to be happy. I love a grateful recipient, but they're not all grateful. So you got to ask yourself, look, get out there and whatever their response is, you did what honored God and you did what you thought you should. Do your very best. Now look, be educated, be caring, don't be stupid, in other words, rude or any of those things. But if you've done all that and this person's genuinely in need, there's nothing to be afraid of. Get out there, help in that moment with what you can see, and then listen to other things that they may tell you that they need.
So that's funny that you say that, Dale, because I'm one of those that just I never understood, right? We have this talent that God has provided us with, and some of us don't either. We don't find it at all. Some finding it later on in life. And could it be the thing that people made fun of you the most? And I say that because for a very long time, my talents, the gift that God gave me was my voice. And I didn't know that though. But I would talk to people and I would hear people like, oh my God, you gave me goosebumps. I would have people say, how much do you charge for coaching? Right? I'm talking to business owners. I'm talking to just people at work. I'm just pouring into them, because that's just who I am. So then I got to the space, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to overwhelm people. So now I get to the space of, hey, is it okay if I give you some advice? Or is it okay? And a lot of the time they're going to say yes, but at least I know they said yes and I didn't just
Yeah.
spill it out. Because sometimes I get upset when I done gave them the blueprint almost, right, Dale? You can give someone the blueprint and they're still doing the damn wrong things. So I get upset. So I says, hey, can I give you a little bit of advice? Because now when they say yes, it's like they ask for it, right? Now they're probably more likely to actually do something with it versus someone that they just wanted to talk. You know how your parents would just tell you things without you ever saying, yes, mom, you can tell me this? So I try to think in that sense, man. But I love the way that you think is continue to do it. Whether they take it in the positive or in the negative, you knew that it came from the right place. And sometimes people may take it from, I've seen that, where I come from a very, very positive space, and people take it like I was challenging them. But a lot of times I may ask a question for you to just think a little differently, because it's all about in the mindset. It's the way that we think. It's the way that we ask ourselves questions, talk to ourselves. So I love what you say, man. But I also want to know, what does faith in action actually look like on a Thursday morning, because today's Thursday, when no one's actually watching?
Well, I think it means, one of the first things is there's a great verse in the Bible where Paul said, look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. So what I should do, I would enjoy more, and you would enjoy more, is before I did this interviews, I should have thought more about you. I should have thought more about what you needed. What was this interview for you? And when I do that, it not only obeys God, but it's just God showing us, unlocking a key for our happiness too. Because normally we think, I got to get what I want. But the truth is, when you live the way Christ created us to live, which is thinking about the other guy, I think that drives me, and listen, let's remember, I don't do this right. I mean, like when you were saying about how you have people you give advice to, they don't listen, you see them on the wrong path. And I was thinking, well, that's how God puts up with me. I mean, I'm always, I've heard, he tells me, and I'm a hardhead, and I just keep doing the same dumb stuff. So all I would say is, that gives me empathy and sympathy, I'm not saying I'm always that patient, but that's the goal at least.
You mentioned should have done a little research or a little more thinking on what is it, in it for you or what's for you. I selfishly do these podcasts because I'm learning, like I'm educating myself as I'm going. I'm learning from great leaders, but I'm also sharing resources for others that may find themselves in a imposter syndrome. Man, can I do it? Because I was just speaking to a lady a year. She now just celebrated a year. She was in the healthcare field, and she was obviously working for a corporate. She didn't like how the healthcare system was. She didn't like that it was about numbers. Instead of spending an hour with someone and really getting to know them and their family, that it was only 6 minutes with someone, and it was a rush. It was a trauma that was being left behind. It was all these things she didn't want to be a part of.
Yeah.
So now she started her own practice where she spends 60 minutes. It's her, and she gets to know families, and she's not, just overloaded with people. And when I hear those stories and other people hear those stories, they like, man, let me keep going. Someone put her family on the line, right? She talks about, man, thank God to my husband that cooks and picks up my kids when I had to make these sacrifices. People don't hear those stories enough, Dale. And really, that's what I feel like I'm winning, because we're giving a platform to people like yourself, Dale, that has went through life. The judge that I mentioned, no one's ever going to hear that story if we never get them on the show and ask the questions. Because there are people right now. I actually met someone the other day. I was at the high school. The principal says, hey, can you talk to the gentleman? We're trying to get him to be become the robotics teacher. And the first question I asked Dale was like, all right, man, what's your name? Cool. So are you happy or are you comfortable? No, let's say, are you happy or are you comfortable was the question I asked him. And no one asked him that question. You can tell because he like looked and he laughed. He's like, man, I'm comfortable, right? I said, man, comfortable, that means you're just always just going to keep doing the same exact things, but you could really be working off of passion and purpose and doing something that makes you happy. So think about it. You go from a smaller school where, yes, it is very mom, dad, and very comfortable, but you can make a big difference now where a school has 3,000-4,000 students, and now you get to do robotics, and you're talking to the next group of engineers. Like, there's something there. People don't ever see that. So when you say, I should have done this and that, you did it by showing up, Dale, and by giving what you've been talking about this whole time, man. So I truly do appreciate it. We'll change lives by having authentic, real conversations. That's how I look at it. But if someone's listening, we're almost coming to the end here. If someone's listening and they want to help, however, they feel maybe small or they feel unsure, what's the one thing they can actually do today that matters the most?
Well, the first thing is, you got to be right to help others, and we never get right. But this is where I say the relationship with God matters. So, as I understand the scriptures, it says God showed His love toward us while we were still sinners. Christ died for us. So, first thing is, commit to that truth. Commit to Christ, the person, and watch what He can do with your life. And while you're feeling afraid and like you can't be used, God made you. God loves you. He made you in His own image. You're not the point, though. He is. And the more you live that way, in submission to Him and under His lordship, it's a totally different life. So that'd be my first thing, is get right yourself so that you can have, Jesus says over and over again, do not fear, do not fear, do not fear. And the way to live like that comes with freedom in Him. That's why He say, we used to lock people up, now we set them free. And the truth is, we set them free spiritually and try to get them broken free of all the things that cause addiction and cause anxiety and the mental health struggles we have and all those things. Let's let Christ just set us free. So that's one. Two, I would say, be encouraged. You were made in the image of God. I think sometimes there's too much emphasis on ourselves. And the problem is when you talk that way, you and me know what we're really like. So yes, I'm positive. I think you should be positive by yourself. There's no reason to, but sometimes we push too much to me. I'm just not that exciting. I can tell you all of my failures. I always think the stuff I get in trouble for, I always think like, man, if they really knew, that's the real problem. So I think that the switch is this. God made us to focus on Him, and He's so wonderful that it's kind of like, I won't go on much longer, but it's a wonderful thought. It's like you and your wife, you know her, you love her, but if you never say it to her, the love is not really brought together. And that's what happens. You may know God is great. You may know but you have to say it. It's pushing towards him is what's going to really change your life, instead of just saying, I'm the greatest, I'm going to do this, I'm the best, like all the ball players and all beating their chest. Just that's by grace, man. That's the only reason you're out there. So
Yeah.
let's instead look to him, and I think that is the life-changing advice, I would say.
I love it. I love it because going back to my wife, man, when I wanted to start a nonprofit at 22, before opened up about sexual abuse, she knew right, when we got together months in, like, man, something's a little different about you. Especially when I was getting, like, I didn't even know I got as angry as I was, I wasn't in a relationship until 20 something years old. That was my first real relationship. And I would always remember her saying, when you get mad, you become this monster. I don't even know who you are. And I'm like, to me, knowing who I was, I'm like, that can't be, right? There's that trauma. There's that things that I wasn't dealing with. So as I wanted to start this nonprofit, I would always remember her say this, and I was 20-some years old, and it still resonates with me. How do you help somebody else if you haven't helped yourself?
Yeah.
Right? Here I am wanting to start this nonprofit to help others, but I'm broken. How the hell are you, So when you just mentioned that, it brought me back to that moment. It is so true. You have to be able to help yourself before you help others. And a lot of times I see it as leaders. We always want to help. We always want to pour into people, but sometimes we're the ones that need to be poured into. And it is okay to be selfish. It is okay to take time to yourself. It is okay to say no. It is okay to just sit in a room, pray. Like, these are the conversations that people don't really have because they think that is not okay. And I love now that the pandemic has really brought out the word mental health more than ever. Because in reality, that's all it is, the mental mindset shift, right? When you talk about resources, the way that we change people, the way we show up and meet them where they're at, what really lights is like, man, the mindset. Wow, someone does care for me.
Yeah.
Where you could be in a place, you mentioned something a little earlier, where I want to take my life, but the mindset shifts and you're like, wait, I have purpose, I have passion. God has something in store for me. I got to keep going. Right, so I love that. I just wanted to bring that up, but I'll close it, man. You have anything to say before I put you in the blind question seat, hot seat?
No, thank you. The only thing I would say is, you've mentioned several times how you grew up and stuff, and I just want you to know, there's an old verse in the Old Testament. Israel had these locusts had taken all their fields. They'd come in and they'd obliterated all their food, and then as things start to get better, God gives them a promise. He says, I will repay to you the years the locusts have eaten. So in other words, they had lost all that money, lost all that food, lost all that. He says, supernaturally, he'll repay the years they had taken away. And I'd say the same way for you. Get closer to the Lord, know the Lord, and watch what he can do with the difficulties that got you where you are,
I love it. And you know what, Dale, you are 100% right, and I'm living it. I'm living it every day. Every day I'm just thankful, blessed to be alive. We mentioned that every day. And I think that to know that this is what I do for a living, Dale, I thank God. I'm home. I got 2 kids, young kids, a 1 and a 4-year-old. I remember my wife saying, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, Dale. And I thought to myself, what in the world? I wasn't making any money. I was an entrepreneur. You know what entrepreneurship looks like. It doesn't look cute, especially when you're starting off. So when she told me that, I said, oh, okay. But I didn't know how. But God showed up. She's now been a stay-at-home mom for 4 years.
Wow.
And I'm also at home. Like, what a blessing that God has really shown up for us in a time where we didn't know how it was going to get done.
Right.
When I left my 9-to-5 job, something that I was very comfortable in, and I actually enjoyed, but knew that there was bigger purpose out there, and I left with no income. Like, it was all on faith. That was the word of the year, is you got to have faith, Ephraim. It is part of the process. Ephraim, God wouldn't put you through this, okay, if he didn't see something bigger for you. And I would remember it was coming to the end, literally how things could change out of a drop of a dime. I go to my wife and I said, financially, we're almost tapped out. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to go get a job? I didn't know where I was going to work at, to be quite frank. This is all I seen. This is what I envisioned. And this is what I just felt was right, And she says, God didn't bring you this far, Ephraim, to just give up on yourself. And that's what kept me. That's what got me over that hump when I was sitting in here just feeling the weight on my shoulders. So I love what you say, man. And for those that are watching, it is so important that you have faith, that you believe in God. I can't tell you how many times God showed up in my life when I didn't know, when I'm like, how do I pay this bill? Or how do I overcome this? I mean, when people ask me, Dale, I have friends ask me, like, how do you feel about your past life, the sexual abuse, the adoption? Biological mom had 10 kids, biological father has 8 kids, all right? A lot of them are still kind of in that system, repeating cycles. And I say, I'm grateful because God chose one of his strong ones to overcome these things, to be a testimony for others. And I say that right back to you, Dale. You are a testimony to others, man. The things that you had to do out in the field is now a testimony because now you get to share those stories with people that are really going through something. And maybe they can't get a cop to come to their house because of X, Y, Z, or they don't want to. They're living in fear of what this cop may do. You are now that middleman, man. So I love it. I love that this is what your life have really become, and I can tell that you just love it, man. You just have this fire for it, this passion.
Yeah.
Since the first time I spoke to you, it was just exciting.
Right.
So I thank you. I thank you as well. So let's talk about it. The blind question from the last leader was, what belief do you hold today as a leader that would have shocked your 20-year-old self?
That I need to be quiet and listen. I've never done it before yet. I still haven't tried it. My wife will tell you I talk all the time, but I think that would have shocked me, that I could actually benefit a lot by not taking over the room. And my buddy used to say, take the air out of the room, but just shut up and listen to others. One big thing was, God is going to do his work, and I've got to relax and not think I'm responsible for it. You know what I'm saying? And that is a big, big different approach. Instead of trying to control, I'm going to make it all, no, just be quiet, listen. The Lord is at work. You don't need to rest. You can rest.
I love it. And what is your blind question to the next leader we have here on the Heart and Hustle?
Oh. Yeah, I would say, how did you get here? How did you get this far?
How did you get here? How did you get this far?
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. I love it, man. Where can they connect with you? What is your social media? What is the website?
Yeah, the social media is the Undercover Pastor, and then the website is the Undercover Pastor as well, or Boost Others. You can go direct to the Boost Others website as well. And we're at both places, and I love it. We appreciate any help you can give us so we can help more families in crisis.
Thank you so much. Guys, if you guys are still watching, what a lovely conversation we had with Dale. And I'm always a fan when people get to talk about faith and religion, because it's something that we want people to be their true selves, but we won't have true conversations, without being judgmental to anybody, just allowing people to truly be themselves. So I truly appreciate you being so open, sharing the insight that you shared, becoming a resource for others that need those resources, and really playing both sides, right? The leader out in the field when you were part of becoming the narcotics team, but also now being a leader, a pastor out in the community to make sure that people are getting closer to God and believing in God a lot more, especially during these times when people are living in fear. So if you guys are one of those individuals, if you guys feel like there's some more insight that you guys need, questions, I can imagine if you guys go to visit Dale, again, Boost Others, or the Undercover Pastor, you guys can get some more information and connect. Make sure you guys do share, like, and comment, because that's the only way that people can find out the conversations, the real conversations, and the real resources. This has been the Heart and Hustle Podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.
Thank you.